Hello, what have we here?
You're wrong.
Damn! What the hell was that?
Game over, man. Game over.
You're wrong.
You finished?
Well, I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your huckleberry.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lemurs and squirrels, and welcome to the Week in Geek, a wholly owned subsidiary of free-range Idiocy, wherein we present our midweek dose of geekery for you, the people. Sit back and relax as we scrape the best news we found off the bottom of the interweb shoe and let you know exactly what flavor it is. I am your Uncle Todd, and with me, as always, is the lead editor and chief bottle washer of the Week in Geek. I give you the man they call Tim.
Greetings and salutations, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You know, pretty good for the shape that I'm in. How about you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm just wiping the tears from my eyes after our pre-production meeting where you and I were throwing some haymakers. Not at each other.
It's going to be a good one.
About life in general and making each other laugh, which is the bedrock of this show, if nothing else.
Pretty much. All right, sir. Well, this is your show. This is your day. It is Week in Geek Wednesday, if I actually get around and get off my ass and edit this thing and publish it on the right day. So, hey, where are we going with this? What do we got?
Do I need to get the strap to put over my shoulder since this is...
Not yet, because it's, you haven't not yet defended the strap yet.
I'm going to defend the strap. I just told you. It's very difficult to ship it in the event that I lose said strap.
You go ahead and ship something. I'll ship something to you.
But we are, at this stage, past the point of our fantasy football draft.
Yes. And who got the better draft grade?
I believe you did, sir.
I believe I got a solid B, which is, believe me, I'm not used to seeing grades of that caliber.
I know.
On a report card with my name next to it.
I know that.
And what was your grade, sir?
I got a D+.
You did. D? No, it was always D- for Charlie.
You know what? Last season, I was at like a C-, kind of around that level, and I ended up being the real champion that came out of that season. So I'm not too worried.
Champion.
That's right. That's champion.
Actually, I think I got a D last year.
I remember I did not get a high rating, and
Me neither.
I still ended up, the cream of the crop.
Ooh, shocked at my grade. I was expecting like maybe a C. I was very surprised to see a B. I'm like, okay, sure. And it was like on one guy, and I'm like, I didn't even know who that guy was.
So we have our draft behind us, and now we are in the midst, if you will, of Week 1 action.
It's getting a little lascivious up in this piece right now.
My team, best in the world, as I have described myself, being the champ.
You're going down so hard for changing your fantasy football team. It's like when you rechristen a boat. It's bad juju, I'm telling you.
It is not.
Okay.
This is Week 1 jitters.
Had the same team name for like 18 years, and all of a sudden this year you're like, oh!
I'm playing Joe Buck yourself. The original projections were me winning 176 to 170. Right now, according to the live projections, it is going to be me losing 170 to 136. So far on my team, underperformances by Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Devontae Adams, Jameson Williams. Although Jameson Williams at least has put up 5 points now. I appreciate him at least hearing me yell into the ether, "Can you put up at least 5?" And he did, so I appreciate that, Jameson. Omarion Hampton put up 22 for my running back. Stephon Diggs in his debut with the New England Patriots in a losing effort, 11 fantasy points. Cameron Dicker the kicker, baby, 9 points, solid 9.
Did you have him as a keeper, or did you actually go out and seek him out again?
I sought him out again.
All right.
Because he was money. He was money for me last season. And then my Kansas City defense almost put up 20 points. They put up 18. So, a respectable showing so far. I'm really banking a lot on the performance of Derrick Henry against a Buffalo defense tonight.
You're banking a lot.
I'm expecting a 70-point performance for him to lift me from the ashes of where I am. But
what have you got in that coffee cup that you've been drinking?
Might have had a little bourbon in there,
Possibly. You have. If you're going to make predictions like that.
Possibly. My one so far my one move that I'm regretting is I drafted and did not start Hollywood Brown, baby, from Kansas City. He put up 19 points as a wide receiver. That is highly respectable.
You deserve everything you get after that.
And so
Nobody put Hollywood in the corner, baby.
I put Hollywood in the corner, and I paid a price. You, sir, right now are in kind of a back and forth here because from the time we just started this segment to right now, you went from losing 185 to 184 to now winning 187, 184. So things are afoot here.
Well, before I was
take on Peyton's Lazy Blues.
I was predicted to lose like 193 to 170 or something. It's been a
202 to 194 is the original projection.
Okay, yeah, it wasn't good. I know that. So I changed my of course Gerard's juggernaut is no longer a thing because Gerard's in the unemployment line. He might be working a night shift at Walmart. I'm not sure what Gerard's up to these days, but he is not coaching at the head coach level. So Gerard's juggernaut went away, and we are going with the Doomed as my.
I told him he should have gone with the Smoted, but you know,
I just didn't want. I figured the Doomed just kind of fit a little bit better. I don't know, but
fair enough.
So yeah, I right now 126 to 183. I am behind. However, my ace in the hole here is I've got 6 players remaining. 5 right now, are in progress and playing as we speak. And then I've got the 6 going tomorrow night. Lamar Jackson playing Monday Night Football at
He's playing
Buffalo.
tonight. He's playing tonight.
Yeah, it's Sunday. I'm sorry.
Sunday
Okay.
Football.
So I will know tonight.
You will know.
But yeah, so far not too bad. Saquon Barkley, a respectable 36 points. Kyron Williams. Well, I was going to go with the running backs here first.
Sorry.
Kyron Williams, he's getting me about 22 points right now, heading into the fourth quarter. Debo Samuel gave me 22, which I managed to poach Debo, which the funny part was for our fantasy draft, we had spent a little time with a pre-production meeting, talking about topics for the show, and kept the video chat going during the draft. And the cuss words that were flowing from the man they call Tim when I drafted Debo and snatched him right out of the palm of his hand. Oh, it was great. I wish I'd been recording. Oh, it was terrific.
I hope Debo gets injured next week and hoses your team.
Well, and I hope that your belt falls apart.
It won't.
So
fine working order.
Let's see here. We Marvin Harrison Jr. actually overperforming a little bit, got me 18. Calvin Ridley kind of shat the bed on me. Only measly 5 points. Let's see. He only has 5 points, and we're in the fourth quarter. No one else of real note here. Green Bay right now is sitting with 18 fantasy points. About mid fourth quarter, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. No one on my bench really could have helped me here too much, although Drake May, my backup quarterback, got 50 today. That was nice. And then my flyer on Geno Smith. I'm hoping for someone to just be really hard up in a few weeks and Geno to be trade bait. That's what I'm looking at right here. Other than that, everyone else kind of quiet here. The one guy that got shouted out in my as a mistake in my draft grade, Marvin Mims Jr. Right now, he has 3 points in the fourth quarter, so they might have been right about that one. However, he was recommended as a fantasy sleeper. But yeah, so right now, hopefully we're gonna pull this thing out. Who knows?
All right. Well, it's week 1. It's early, but the fantasy, the 2025-2026 fantasy campaign is afoot, and I ain't giving my title to anyone. Just saying.
Next.
All right. Moving right along. You, sir, it's been a couple weeks. It's been a moment or two since we last recorded. Although it hasn't felt that way because we did have a conversation over the course of this past week. We had to do a little strategizing for the show and just general venting about life in general. So, which
that is
was much needed by both of us. So, so you, sir, have had a milestone of sorts transpire over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
With the blanketed, goblin who is kind of in the background, from time to time. One friend of the show, Kalen, is now elsewhere. She is in parts unknown, or I guess parts that are known. But
Yeah, Boston. But yeah,
some
so
would call that parts unknown. But
officially empty nesters for the next couple months here until Christmas break.
there you go.
Yeah, so we last Sunday was move-in day, so that is why we did not have any episodes last week, is because I was busy elsewhere, and then of course we had Labor Day and some other stuff going on, so we took the week off in the name of sanity. But yeah, the move-in was interesting. The weird part being, and I was reflecting on this with my wife and with Kaylin, just the fact that I worked. I want to say I worked I probably worked for about 6, maybe 7 years for the University of New Hampshire housekeeping department in one form or another.
Oh, I didn't know that.
At least 4 of those summers, I was on cleaning crews. Okay. And so I would clean dorms. Specifically, I was on the window, carpet, and floor crew for the most part. But I did clean some rooms. Stuff like that. And then for several years, I worked as a delivery driver for them during the school year and during the summer, which was a hoot. I basically just got to drive around, really noxious chemicals in a cool little Ford Ranger pickup truck around campus. Yeah, it was great.
Uncle Todd with noxious chemicals. Oh boy.
But I spent so much time around campus in different dorms, knowing where everything is in the dorms, but I never lived in a dorm. That was the great irony. So the only way that I ever experienced move-in day was there was a couple times when the move-in day happened to coincide, like the early move-in day, when we would be working. So we'd still be working in one section of the dorm, and they were moving people into other sections of the dorm. So I would kind of get to see it from that point of view. I was like, I have no experience with actually being part of a move-in day. And so not only were we doing a move-in day, we were doing a move-in day in downtown Boston.
Oh boy.
Now, Boston is that craziest of cities where everything is one way, nothing makes sense. Oh boy. It was interesting. Especially interesting because thankfully my sister-in-law and brother-in-law rented a Suburban for us to take down. They drove us down. So all 5 of us went down. We loaded up the back. Kaylin was smushed all the way back with like everything around her, which I was like, fair. And when we were going to get into kind of like the holding pattern, my brother-in-law missed the turn. And then he missed the next turn because it was one of those deals where, so you have the street running this way, right? And then the turn you're supposed to take is like this. And then there's another turn like this. Now, if you're not looking at the screen and you're not acquainted with like Boston, where any intersection could be like any number of different directions, you think that this is the left you're supposed to take because that's what you're most acquainted with, a left, not a left that like essentially is like, turn like almost like a 180. So we take the left that is not the left, and the GPS then helpfully says, merge onto I-93. I'm like, I have a feeling we're heading in the wrong direction.
Yes.
So not only did we have to orbit, we had to orbit halfway around Boston.
Oh, jeez.
And then back. However, luckily now with GPS, like real-time rerouting and all that, it turned out to be like a 5-minute detour. Whereas back in the day, that would have been like a half hour as you're trying to figure out where the hell you are.
Right.
So that worked out. We got back. We got onto the side street that was going to the main street where her dorm was. We then ended up having to wait for one of the big old laundry hampers where you dump all your stuff in, and they kind of wheel that up, and you get in line for the elevators. Because Kaylin's living on the 6th floor, and so they bring we're waiting on a hamper. Like we were literally just waiting on a hamper, and I was like, all right, Kaylin, let's go. And she's like, what? They bring a hamper? I'm like, nope, we're going to start grabbing stuff and bringing it upstairs because we have more than one hamper's worth of stuff. And there's no way we're getting 2 hampers in this deal. So we're going to have to hoof it at some point. We might as well do it now. You've got your key. Like, let's go up. Let's meet your room, whoever roommates are there. So we made 3 trips up and down 6 flights of stairs with stuff. Oh my gosh. And the best part about it, the 18-year-old is the one going,
Oh boy.
and I'm like, I'm a little winded, but kid, you better toughen up. Like, you're 18. I'm 49. I'm like, you got to get some cardio in. This is not good.
Yeah. Yep.
So we did that. And by the time we finished like the 3rd run, her hamper had been loaded and made it up. So we got all the stuff in, and yeah, it was interesting. The move-in process was interesting. However, I will say the folks at her college did a fantastic job of keeping things on track, of helping people out and making sure that it didn't turn into the absolute mosh pit fracas it could have turned into. So I will give them a lot of credit. They kept things running smoothly and made it all work out really well. The biggest problem was the parents and the people who didn't decide to bring their hampers back downstairs like you're supposed to. So when we finished emptying ours, I actually did them a solid. I grabbed another hamper that was just sitting there in the elevator lobby, and I stacked them together and brought it down to help them out.
Yeah.
But it's like, that was kind of the biggest holdup. I'm like, dude, that was only mentioned about 8 times in every email.
Yeah.
And you can't.
Don't you love how people are just like, I'm just going to take for me, and everyone else can figure it out for themselves.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Instead of just helping out.
Don't you know you're the main character?
Pitch in.
Yeah. And so the funny part was, so Kaylin is in a quad, like a true quad, not these quads that they have now where it's like, oh, there's a double over here and a double over here, and you have a common area. No, it's one room, 4 people. And in this room, like, all the furniture is around the perimeter of the room, and there is not a wasted inch of space. Like, it is just furniture lining the entire outline of the room. So we get in there with the first load of stuff. I'm sweating. Kaylin's open up the door, and 2 of her roommates were already there. Well, so if you picture the room like this, here's the door down here, wall like right here. So literally the door opens up, like boom. It is literally in the corner. You go up like this, and the windows are up here. So it's kind of shotgun from there. And there's bed, desks and stuff in between.
Yeah.
2 first roommates, which beds do you think they took?
Closest to the windows.
They did. So it was like a choice between, you get the door or you get the wall over here. And Kaylin starts putting her stuff by the door, and I'm like, and she's like, what? I'm like, if you put your head by that end of the bed, you can still see the window, and you're not right now. You're at least a little away from the door. She's like, oh. I'm like, yeah, move your stuff over there. We're taking that bed. So it quickly turns into Lord of the Flies, like just first come, first serve.
This is the thing about the move-in process. It's, do you be that person who just starts to take over everything, or do you say, well, I'm going to wait for, some of the roommates and we can kind of figure it out? And, what's your theory on that now that you've been, or what's your feeling on that now that you've been through it? Because for me, like, we've only ever been in a situation with our kids where it's one other roommate. So when we would get to the room first, we in theory could have done whatever we wanted to do if we really wanted to be jerks about it.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up taking more of a posture of, all right, let's get the stuff in the room. Let's wait until your roommate gets there. Let the 2 of you talk and figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
And granted, it's a little different than in that scenario as well, because like you said, it's not so, with like basically the dorm rooms they've lived in have been pretty well, are not spacious, but they have some space. Sounds like a little more potentially than what they might have, given there's 4 of them in the room. But just, we tried to take a posture of being, accommodating depending on what the needs of the other roommate were. And And so for you, with your situation, getting there with the first two roommates there, and this isn't to disparage those first two roommates, by the way. It's just, I'm just saying, what's your feeling now on that? Like, had you been there first, would you have just grabbed it? Do you think because it's 4 of them, Lord of the Flies rules prevails here?
I think it's easier to do the whole, well, let's just wait and see if it's a double.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
it's one other person.
Yes. The negotiations are a little easier.
Yeah.
And I mean, most of the time in a double, like, it's kind of split down the middle. Like, the window is going to be between the two. Like, when it's a quad or a triple, it becomes a little bit more of a negotiation. Even furthermore, when it's 4 freshmen living in a room that you did not know what the layout was going to be.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a picture of every single room. They're like, okay, here is what a quad could look like in this building. And it's not, going through like UNH, like a lot of the dorms are purpose built as dorms. So it's like, you've seen one room, you've kind of seen them all. Right. Most of the rooms are basically the same. This is in the heart of Boston. So this is a building that used to be something else. So they're repurposing it, and they're trying to squeeze every little bit of, space out of it that they can for rooms and make it work. So there's a certain unevenness about the design. So there's not really a predictability of what it would look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, ideally, the only other way I could have thought, and also the fact that, like, it's not, you can just show up whenever. Like, you have a 15-minute slot of when you're going to move in.
You have a window. Yeah.
So, like, one of the roommates was there first thing in the morning, like 9-ish, 10-ish in the morning. And the next one, I think, was there at like 11-ish. And our window was like 1:15. And then
waiting doesn't make sense, and or really is hard to do, because it's like, this is your window, so you've got to just,
you would have to wait like
choice.
4 or 5 hours until everyone is there. And then not knowing the layout, it's like, how are you going to keep all that stuff just sitting around? The only way that I think it could have worked a little bit differently, because the nice thing now is, of course, with social media, texting, all of that, like, everyone had kind of communicated beforehand. It wasn't like back when we were going to college, where it's like, you're going to write a letter or a phone call.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if that really happened all that much, where you communicated with your roommate beforehand. Like, you would get notice of their phone number or anything. I have no idea. Like I said, I'd never lived in a dorm. So now the only advantage would have been to coordinate and be like, okay, Betty Sue is getting there at 9:30. When you get there, take a photo of the room, and we'll all make sure we're by our phones at 9:30. And we'll decide, like, who wants what.
Yeah.
Because then you can see, like, what, at least a vague idea of what the room looks like. But then you start getting into a text fight, and somebody's going to have to make a decision. I personally am okay with the fact that, like, you got the early move-in time, you get to choose. Like, that's just the way I mean,
okay.
Kaylin could have gotten one of those early slots, but she dilly-dallied around, and it was like, she's like, oh, I was waiting to hear from you when you wanted to move in. I'm like, as early as possible. Like, why would you think anything else?
Right. Right.
Like, what do you mean you're waiting?
Don't you know who I am?
It's like, come on. So
geez.
she waited, and I'm like, hey, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is that pressure, because it's like, hey, and by the way, this is your space for the next 8 to 9 months. And it ain't gonna, and especially in their room, it's like, it ain't going to change. Like, there's no other way that you can rearrange this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, this is pretty much how it's going to work. So yeah, it was interesting, but at the same time, it was like, hey,
yeah,
this is the way I looked at it, was like, this is going to encourage you to go find some other places to hang out, or at the very least, like, hey, you get to either get along or not get along with your roommates.
Or it really does become Lord of the Flies.
Good luck. hey, aren't you?
What about the parents? Just wanted, I mean, I'm not trying to throw shade on anyone, but I've had an interesting experience on the parental front, where it has ranged from those that are simpatico with our kind of way of letting the kids kind of sort out what they want to do and kind of taking a step back and just being more movers of things than anything else. Make a suggestion here or there, but for the most part, let them drive. Let them captain this enterprise. And then you also have, parents who really just like to get involved and really kind of be like, hey, I think you should do this and you should do that and you should do this. And, oh, this should be over here. And, no, we can't do this like this. We have to do it over. And you're just sitting there like, oh, sweet, sassy Molassie.
Yeah. I mean, we had already talked with Kaylin a little bit about that beforehand. And because, I mean, her mom and I are very, different in terms of how we do this. And so we kind of had already set up some guidelines, and Kaylin kind of let us know what what she wanted us to do and not want to do. So I was just very much like, hey, I know what I'm here for. I'm a pack mule. That is that is my nature. So I am here. I'm here to
pack mule sound.
I'm here to move stuff.
Yeah.
And all that, and I'm here to offer suggestions. That's the thing with the bed. I'm like,
which was smart.
You want to
giving her
stuff?
some strategic advice right there.
I was like, I'll do whatever, But a lot of it came down to just being available to help.
Yeah.
And then kind of getting out of the way at certain times.
Yeah.
Just trying to find ways that I could be useful. Luckily, outside her door, she's kind of like in this weird kind of corner of the hall of the floor, and so there was a bit of room outside of her room in the hall, where we could actually like take stuff out and put it out there to kind of stage. So because of course you got like, even though 2 roommates are kind of moved in, then the 4th roommate showed up. And so you've got all this stuff moving around, and it's just trying to stay in your little quadrant of the room is tough. So it was like being able to put stuff outside so that by the time the 4th roommate showed up, I could kind of move all that over and be like, hey, grab this space right here in the hallway. Like just put whatever you think you need out here. Like take this space. We were just using it. Like, but just kind of doing that stuff. And then, just trying to stay out of the way. Some of the other parents, it was weird because everybody was very focused, because especially once we got into the afternoon, like it's like 2:00, we're moving stuff in 2:30, 3, and it's getting towards like heading towards dinner time. And there was like this event that the students were all going to and all this stuff at like 6:30. So just trying to get stuff done and also trying to, not overstay your welcome, that sort of thing. So it was interesting though. So I didn't really communicate with a ton of the parents because we were all very much like on task, but I was trying not to notice. I did make friends with this one lady, who was dragging this big ass suitcase up the stairs. Oh my gosh. I forget what her name is. I feel horrible about it because she was such a sweet lady. Definitely an older lady, and she's dragging like the largest suitcase that you can get, and she's pulling this thing up the stairs. And so it was like floor 3, and I think she was going to like floor 5, and I kind of caught up with her, and I only had like one thing in my hands, and I was like, hey Kaylin, you can take this. I was like, here, let me get this for you. So I carried the suitcase up, and she's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And this, and I met her like a couple of times up and down the stairs after that. And then when we were coming back to the dorm after we had walked out to get something at like the Marshalls down the street, she was like coming back with like groceries. And I was like, hey, how you doing? She's like, oh, I'm doing good, son. I'm like, so weird. Like I made a new best pal.
Yeah.
But that was kind of cool. So the overall good experience, but it was, I was sweating. I was sweating like Mike Tyson taking an SAT.
Oh,
I bet. It was pouring off me. It was great.
I bet. Well, sir, you survived your first experience with the college move-in. I salute you and commend you for pushing through and showing a modicum of evenness through the whole thing. You had a very, very solid head on your shoulders, and even if that head was doing this to kind of send a secret message like, come on, grab that bed.
Yeah,
but
it was
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Well, moving on from Uncle Todd shenanigans over to shenanigans over the weekend on WWE SmackDown live from the Allstate Arena in Chicago, Illinois. You
Yes.
always know something incredible is going to happen in Chicago. It is a happening wrestling town here, and we had ourselves yet another milestone because in the never-ending feud between CM Punk and Seth Rollins, which now has involved his spouse, the man Becky Lynch, smacking Punk around.
Well, the funny thing is, as we're out, so I was watching that last night.
Yeah.
And Kim was on the couch next to me, and she usually is not a wrestling fan, but she was kind of tired, so she wasn't going far. And so I'm watching that, and she's like, "You could really hear her smacking him." I'm like, "That's because she is.
Yeah.
Like, she is definitely laying those in." Like,
Yep.
I was like, "That's the thing in wrestling. Like, there's some things you just can't fake. If you want it to look good, you kind of got to hit the person."
Phil squares the jaw up and just takes it.
and you know with a guy like Punk, as old school mentality as he is, know that he's saying to her before, like, you really
lay it in,
right? You know that.
Exactly.
It's like Paul Heyman when he tells that story about doing the shoot promo on Vince.
Yes.
And he tells Taz, like, "You're gonna come out and choke me out," and he's like, "What's the cue, brother?" He's like, "Oh, you'll know." he's like, "You got to make sure you really lay it in. Like, they're gonna have a close up. We're gonna be on live TV." And he's like, "Oh, and he choked the shit out of me." Like the same sort of thing. Like,
That's
you
awesome.
Got to get me.
But yes, it was in what was probably the worst kept secret of the entire week. One AJ Lee made her return. Light it up, ladies and gentlemen, because she's back in all of her, kind of pixie
skipping glory.
What's that?
Her skipping glory.
Her skipping, her pixie skipping, and what's that look? It's a precocious look she kind of gives. Like, here I am, and I look all innocent, and then she becomes the vestige of evil.
Didn't Michael Cole say, like, crazy is her superpower or something like that?
Yes, crazy is her superpower. And
I thought it was great because it was like after 10 years she comes back, and I'm like, and apparently she used all that time for core work because
good Lord, yes.
I'm like, son of a mother.
If you look at her from the last time she was on WWE TV to now, not a whole lot has changed, and she looks maybe, like you said, even more.
I think she's more shredded in the core, dude. I was like, that is. Yeah. And I mean, I know she ain't as old as us. Yeah. I know she ain't. She's
38.
She's a bit younger than Punk, but I mean, that gets tougher when you get older.
Oh yeah.
And especially, dude, like, props for any women who are running the six pack, because that is a very tough deal, just to get that definition for anyone, literally anyone. But I think women have a rougher deal on that one. Oh my gosh.
Uncle Todd and I are proponents of the kegger.
Yeah, pretty much. I've made
six pack isn't in our future anytime soon. But a keg.
The fact I'm not going to have a six pack. I do have actually really good core strength. It's just I've got a nice layer of insulation over the top of it.
I see.
I'm keeping it warm.
Very nice. Well, yes, Miss AJ Lee came back in all her glory and in soaking up the fan adulation.
Oh gosh,
as she slapped Becky Lynch around. And
dude, AJ Lee, after a decade off, her punches look 10 times better than Becky Lynch's. I hate to keep harping on how piss poor Becky Lynch's working punches are.
I got to be honest, I thought of you when I saw that. It's like, oh, he's going to say something, and bam, you didn't disappoint.
It's like, how can she not improve in this one area? I'm like, what is it?
Anyway. I know. But no, she got, and I, credit once again to, I got to give credit to Rollins and Lynch because, and this was a criticism I had of Cena back during his prime, is I never felt, with certain opponents that Cena gave enough of that sort of, oh crap look when someone showed up. Like he would smile, he would grin, and it would be like, you just got the sense that he wasn't really fazed by it. And I think in some ways that kind of took a little bit off from the person who was challenging him.
It totally does.
But not in this case. In this case, both Rollins and Lynch are like, oh, what the heck?
Yeah.
And
we in trouble.
And to go back to, my theory that I laid out a month and a half ago, as much as Rollins and Punk, and yes, there is the feud their characters are having right now, but there's always been this underlying belief that Rollins really doesn't like Punk, and and maybe it still is true, but I have to believe the way that they're doing this program, it seems like there's got to be some cooperation there or
That's
something.
totally. I mean, even if it's a matter of them just being like, I don't like you, you don't like me, but we're both professionals and we both want to do this and we want
Right.
to draw money. So how
Right.
can we find a way to work together? And you like they can say like, yeah, we don't like each other. That can totally be the case. I've worked with people I don't like, and I've actually worked well with people I don't like.
I'm
That's
just
all you-
saying, I'm not going to be surprised 5 years from now if we see a documentary where the two of them say, basically admit that, yeah, we had some bad blood between us, but we saw the business we could do together and we repaired the relationship over time with the professionalism that was shown.
or you repaired it enough.
I
And
mean,
that's all you need. You just need a baseline respect. Like they act like they don't even respect each other. I don't think that's the case. I think that is the last layer of kayfabe is like they're trying to play this off like I don't respect him at all. I think they respect each other enough. Otherwise, you couldn't work with each other this long and this closely because you're not going to get in the ring. You're not going to put yourself in positions like this over and over if you don't at least have a little respect and trust that person isn't going to mistreat you.
Fair enough, but I want to go back to I mean, I don't have specific comments, but Rollins has made some very strong statements. If you go back on YouTube and look up Chris Van Vliet or Vliet, however you pronounce it, you're the one who owns the pronunciation.
I always went with Van Fleet, but I'm probably wrong on that.
Well, his name looks like filet, but with a V, so I say Valet. But
okay,
it all comes back to the meats, ladies and gentlemen. It always comes back to the meats. But no, he made some very strong statements, and that to me made me wonder how is this program with Punk going to work because of things that happened in AEW when he also had, it seems, friction with folks there. And and Mr. Rollins did just pull off the the ruse of the century here, lying about his leg. And so the way they're putting each other over, Punk going back to January with the Netflix debut, winning that main event match against, Seth Rollins, and now has really gone on a losing streak. If when you really think about it, against Rollins, in again, character and story, embarrasses him at SummerSlam, beats him at Clash in Paris. I just see this being a thing where Punk consistently loses for a period of time. And I'm wondering if they're building toward WrestleMania where they kind of have their blow off and it turns into, Punk finally overcoming Rollins. But the only problem I see with that is that wouldn't really help Rollins for the future though. Like they're trying to establish his vision as this, kind of like not a bloodline, but kind of in a way like a bloodline where it's the future. It's what, is he going to reign as a dominant champion in the same way that Roman Reigns did? I don't know. But no, I just feel like, the amount of give and take that's happening in the story has to come from a place of respect. And, and what Punk is doing is elevating Rollins through this whole thing. Not all just because of Punk. I mean, Rollins is certainly doing his part as well, but you can't look like a killer unless you have an opponent that helps you look like a killer. And Punk is doing that in spades. And so anyway, so long tangent on why can't we be friends? But nonetheless, AJ Lee is back, and the rumor is coming up here, the first PLE on the ESPN streaming network or the
WrestlePalooza
is WrestlePalooza. It's going to be Rollins and Lynch versus Punk and Lee. So
I've been saying for a long time, haven't I, that like they need to get Becky Lynch into this whole thing somehow.
Yes.
Like this needs to be like it needs to and that was the one thing that I never bought about the bloodline is the fact that they never brought in a female like if your idea is to dominate the company, you have to acknowledge the women's division, which is a huge part of the company, a huge part of the television now. Like if you're not bringing that in, that's where I always felt like Judgment Day lost it because they never had another faction where they could interact with, both men and women. You know what I mean? So I think it's, and especially where you have like, two polarizing, figures like Rollins and Lynch, it makes sense,
One last thing before we move on to the next, as we are ought to do here on the Week in Geek and Free Range Idiocy Friday, we will we always like to, with much affection, introduce Mr. CM Punk as Charles Montgomery Punk.
Yes.
I feel I'm going to throw it out there. We will settle on it before WrestlePalooza, but I'm feeling, even though this isn't maybe a feminine name, I feel like Alphonse Jerome Lee needs to be.
Jerome?
I don't know. It just came to mind. It just made me laugh.
I was going to go with like Allie James or something, but
that's not funny. Come on,
Jerome. Okay, I mean, hey, if you want to, I'll go with it. I'm all right with that.
I'll try to think of a more feminine version, because that is a very masculine.
Alphonse is and I mean, yeah.
The Jerome name just gets me. It's just.
Oh no, it is good for a chuckle.
So I'll have to see if, and with Charles Montgomery, there's a joke there. So
Alice Jerome, perhaps.
What's that?
Alice Jerome.
I can meet you in the middle with that, sir. Alice Jerome. We should do that. Alice Jerome.
And if Jim Cornette starts picking up on it, you know where it came from.
This will be the clue. This will be the clue. All right. Well, we're excited to see what, and apparently she has signed a multi-year deal, so she is back. She is back, not just for a one-time showing. So I am interested to see where this all goes, what they do, and I'm wondering if we're going to start seeing a program of AJ Lee taking on Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. I think that will be very interesting. All right. Sir, let's see. We're at the 40-minute mark. I think our last story is going to take us through to the end. Why don't we skip the SNL story? We'll throw that over to next week's Week in Geek.
Sounds like a plan.
And let's get to this one, because this is actually a couple of weeks old, and I don't know if you had seen this, or if you had read about this, or if you had seen, because it is on YouTube. The conversation between, and what I'm referring to is, let me jump over to the article.
Wasn't it her
from Variety.com?
But it was on her podcast. It was
on her podcast. With her co-star was I'm not going to say his name right, but Tomo
Pennicott.
Tomo Pennicott. Okay, yeah. Tomo Pennicott, who played. Remind me again. I can't think of his character. Hilo. That's right. Okay. Hilo on Battlestar Galactica. And during the podcast, what was very interesting was how Katee Sackhoff opened up about the struggles, which I hadn't even realized, but the struggles that she had been having over the last few years playing that character, but then finding work over the last few years. And what she shares, and I quote, and this is from Miss Sackhoff, is, "I lost all my confidence after Mandalorian, all of it. I've always played 2 steps removed from myself in a sense. It always felt grounded in some part of my belly of who I was. Bo Katan is nowhere near who I am as a human being. Her life, what she wants, I didn't understand her. As much as I understood her, I never felt her in my stomach. I never identified with her. I didn't know how to find her." She said, adding, "My style of acting has always been, your first instinct is the right instinct. Do that. Play the reality of the situation. And I've never really played a character." And she goes on to say that since playing that character, she goes on and says, "It broke me. It just broke me. I started doubting everything about myself. I'm not a strong auditioner on tape, and I was having to put myself on tape. I wasn't booking anything. And for 3 years, I basically didn't work, and it just destroyed my confidence." And if you watch the back and forth between, say his name again, to
Tomo,
between Katee Sackhoff and Tomo, he just seems like a very interesting person. He has a lot of really interesting things to say. First off, really just is like very appreciative of her vulnerability and openness about it, because he's like, not a lot of people would admit something like that.
No.
In the open. So he, and I appreciate her being very open and transparent that way, because you don't hear, folks in the entertainment industry talk about struggles like that unless they're, having some interview where they're coming back from something and they open up about whatever.
Yeah,
but
they've got a biography they're pushing,
or they have a book, right, or something like that. And and so what really struck me though was like, I never got a hint of her struggling with that character based on the presentation of what I saw her do in Mandalorian. Like, she just seemed like a natural at playing Bo Katan. She played her well. I can kind of understand. I mean, I do understand what she's putting out there about not being able to connect with the character, like, especially if you're, if you're not someone who is, uber plugged into the lore of Star Wars. And, while she did the voice of Bo Katan, right? And
She did, yeah.
Okay, so she did the voice, but she never really. This was her first time, obviously, being the live action version. So. I don't know. I appreciated the vulnerability and transparency. I felt for her because, it's like one of those things that it's really cool to see that character come to life in live action, but at the cost of her confidence and her ability, the way that she really couldn't act, it seems like, afterwards for a while, until she got an acting coach or she changed. I think she said she changed her agent. She because her agent was telling her, oh, to get over it, it's not a big deal, and she was just like, she had it with him. She's just like, stop invalidating all this stuff. Like, I am not doing okay here. It's like, and so, she had to change some things up, but she went and saw an acting coach and kind of got herself back onto the horse again, and seems to be in a better place now. So, but to hear it's like 3 years, which just really blew my mind. And so, I've rambled on a lot. Want to get your thoughts on this, and when you read it or if you saw the interview and what you thought.
I'm way behind on my podcasts, and the Sackhoff Show is one of the podcasts that I normally was doing a fairly good job of keeping up on, and I haven't. So I saw this episode. I've seen a couple clips from it. I have not listened or watched the whole thing. However, having listened to a bunch of the other episodes, it is very interesting. One of the reasons I really like her podcast is and her kind of as a, I hesitate to say as a person because I don't know her. But her transparency through the podcast and through some interviews that she's done, where she is open to sharing about stuff like this. And she has shared in the past about, the way that her kind of acting method is, and how she would basically not memorize the script and, for rehearsals and stuff like that. She would learn it kind of on the day in order to have kind of the freshness of it. And again, like she's saying, like kind of like 2 steps removed from herself, and wasn't really being the character. She was kind of playing the situation and the reality of the situation. And in one of her podcasts, she talked about how that kind of ended when she did Longmire, and how they basically said, like, there's no sides on set, and the sides are chunks of the script. Like, so you're not allowed to have that. You're expected to come to set. If you're shooting that day, you're expected to come memorized and prepared. And she was like, oh, okay. And that changed her entire, way of working, because all of a sudden this way that she had done wasn't the way you could do it. And she had also mentioned about, the struggle she had gone through in a couple different episodes through COVID, because you're no longer auditioning in person. Everything is on tape. And as I don't know that feeling as an actor, but I do know as a musician the difference between a rehearsal when it's just you and the band, and a gig when you have maybe a couple hundred people, or a gig when you might have like 5 people and a dog that just happens to be wandering by. Those are all very different. The rehearsal, when it's just the band, like, you might do some strange stuff or try some things because it's just you. There's no pressure. And ideally speaking, you have a relationship with your bandmates where you can do stuff like that. The whole song can fall apart and you can have a laugh about it afterwards and go, okay, let's never do that again. At least that's the environment that I like to be in, and I try to foster in the bands that I've been in. Like, hey, let's try some stuff here. This is a space where we do this, and not like, let's just completely crap on somebody because they tried something new. When you're in front of people, it's a different thing. And depending on the people you're in front of, the size of the crowd, the energy that you're getting back from the room, it changes your performance in subtle ways that you might not even realize. And so auditioning to a camera, I can see being a huge change from auditioning in front of a person and having that personal connection, the interaction before you start the audition and after you start the audition, like not having that feel of who you're actually performing for can be extraordinarily weird. Like you don't get a vibe from who you're working. You don't get any kind of feedback from them. Nothing. Like you're just to a camera lens. That's got to be incredibly weird. And I don't believe, if I'm remembering right, again, not that I have a resume memorized, but I don't believe she's done a lot of stage acting. So I mean, there is that. Like stage actors, if you're not getting that instant feedback, but even if you're acting on a sound stage, you have the people you're with, you have the crew, you have some type of feedback that you can, if you're used to that, you're kind of getting a feel for the room. You're just doing that to a camera. That's going to be tough. And also just the fact that, I mean, let's just say it, it's tougher for women as they age to get roles than it is for men as they age to get roles, which sucks. It's stupid. Because Katee Sackhoff and actually Trisha Helfer's in a new movie. It's like an action movie. They're both badasses in their 40s, like no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you'd be like, I don't know. It's like, are you kidding me? Yeah, you're going to cast, some fat ass Steven, out of shape action star because, well, they're still draw. Like, whatever. This is a bullshit world. But it's like there's all those factors going in, and she had talked about the fact that she was just trying to get work in order to basically like keep her SAG insurance at that point. Because if you don't work long enough, then you have to start worrying about losing your health insurance, and that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot. I can see that being tough because it's a lot like in any kind of job, like if technology changes and all of the tricks that you had no longer apply, and all of a sudden now you've been faced with this thing where you're like, oh, I can't do things the way I did them before. Like that can just completely screw you up. I imagine it's almost like an NFL wide receiver who gets a knee injury and then has to come back and like, oh yeah, just go ahead and cut on that right leg that went out from under you, 6 months ago. Like, I'm not doing that. Now I'm questioning everything about myself.
Yeah.
That's got to be tough. And in a way it sucks, but at the same time, like the fact that it seems like she came out of it and that she's learned from it, I think is awesome because I still think she's an incredible actor. And I think that there's going to be a lot of great work from her in the future. So I'm glad that in a way that, this experience might have at least led to something positive. But that'd be terrible. That'd be terrible to have to go through.
Yeah, and she said, since then, she hired, I mentioned, a new manager, an acting coach, and that acting coach told her, my goal is not to teach you how to act. You know how to act. I just need you to get back in your belly. You just need to find your confidence again. And so last year, she appeared in an episode of Law and Order, and then she's done some voice acting on an animated series, and she's part of the cast for the upcoming Carrie series on Prime Video. So
well, she also has a movie that she was just in with Josh Hartnett or something.
Oh, okay.
That was, I think it just came. I don't think it was. It didn't end up being like a humongous movie, but I think she had a decent part in it. Because I remember her promoting about it.
Let me see.
I don't remember what it is.
I'm looking it up.
But I'm totally in the bag for Katee Sackhoff no matter what. So I mean, they recast Jaws and made her the shark. I'm in. Let's go.
Let's see. Oh, she did the voice of Silk Spectre in Watchmen Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 from last year.
Ooh.
Was the movie Fight or Flight? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Fight or Flight.
Which I meant to, I actually kind of wanted to see that. And I'm going to have to catch it on streaming because the last few months have been busy for me.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
So I'll have to catch that. I've also got to catch up on the Superman flick. So I've got quite a queue facing me here.
You do. Well, that my friends, before I give us our kind of outro here, just wanted to wish Miss Sackhoff well as she embarks on kind of this next phase of her career. And as you have mentioned, sir, we're in the bag for the work that she does, given our fandom of BSG and the phenomenal portrayal she did of one star. Buck, 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 buck.
What do you hear, Starbuck? Nothing but the rain.
All right. Well, that, my friends, is your Week in Geek.
All right, sir. Well, what have you got for and another thing, a suggestion for our listeners and viewers on this Week in Geek Wednesday?
I have not fully gotten through this, but I would recommend, given what I've listened to so far, if only to hear the Dusty Rhodes imitation that Bruce Pritchard does, which is second to none, according to Cody himself. What do you want to talk about with Cody Rhodes?
I think Paul Heyman's Dusty Rhodes, even though it's not as accurate.
Those are the two that Cody recognizes. Cody says you and he mentions Paul Heyman, I think, are the two that are in the echelon of being the Dusty impressions. So, but it is the podcast. What do you want to talk about with Cody Rhodes with guest Bruce Pritchard on YouTube, so you can see it, the live interview, or you can hear it on Spotify. But just very interesting so far. What I've listened to, they get into some of how Bruce got into professional wrestling himself, and it's funny to hear. I look at Bruce Pritchard and think of him as a contemporary of Dusty Rhodes when Bruce was actually a kid when Dusty Rhodes was wrestling. So Dusty wrestled quite a bit apparently. So. For a long time. So,
well, but you think about it, so Bruce Pritchard, Brother Love, was there. I mean, that kind of overlapped. I believe Brother Love, Dusty Rhodes WWF run kind of overlapped a little bit.
It did. Yep.
So it's kind of funny when you think about that, but you're like that. And of course we say the tail end of Dusty Rhodes's, wrestling career. He had a bunch of matches after that in various ways, WCW and other stuff. But it's like, it's kind of funny when you think about that. Holy crap, Dusty Rhodes' career was forever.
Yeah, it really was.
He's like the Don Zimmer of a professional wrestling. He never really had another job besides being involved in wrestling.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool. You managed to do what you love that long. Yeah.
But Cody throws questions at him around what's the biggest flop he's been involved with, and things of that nature. So. I would just say, it's a great interview just to get to hear and understand the background and the stories of someone who has been really an ever-present part of WWE from way back in the mid to late. Well, I would say more like the late 80s on. Yeah. Bruce Pritchard has been a presence and someone who was for a long time a confidant or partner of Vince McMahon's, who. Part of Vince McMahon's inner circle of guys who helped direct the creative of that company, and Bruce moved on to he had a stint in TNA for a period of time.
Got fired on air by Jim Cornette.
He did, and so So I would just say if you're a fan of wrestling, if you enjoy getting seeing or hearing about the behind the scenes. Getting some background on someone who's been a part of the business for quite some time and clearly has an affection and affinity for Dusty and for Cody. And, they get into the story of, Cody signing with WWE for the current run he's on. Do check it out. It is very interesting. Like I said, I haven't listened to the entirety of it yet, but it is very interesting, and you will not be disappointed.
If you will.
What is yours, sir?
I'm going to reach back way into the bag.
Oh, damn. This goes back to Lilac Lane when I would come home from class or from my internship, and the MASH was on, and oh my gosh. I think I remember asking you, when is this show not on?
So I'm going to, my and another thing is MASH, which is streaming on Disney Plus currently, or Hulu or whatever conglomeration. I used to watch this in college. Now, the funny part was this was back in the day when I don't know how this worked in terms of the syndication, but 3 different channels had MASH on. And at one point, I think it might have even been 4, because I had it worked out where I could watch either an hour or 2 hours of MASH given the time of day, because it would be on 2 episodes back to back, and then I changed channels and it'd be on for another 2 episodes. And so I could get like 2 to 3 hours of MASH per day.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd come home, you'd be like, son of a bitch, it's on again.
What is this not on?
It's almost like that. Remember the first time that we noticed that Christmas Story was running on TNT, and you're like, it's always on. I'm like, yeah, they're running it 24 hours until Christmas. He's like, nah, you didn't believe me at first. Then you turn on, it's on again. I'm like, I told you they're running it 24 hours until Christmas. And it took like the third time you saw it, where you're like, I think they're running this 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to hit you with a bottle of Mickey's Fine Malt Liquor, an empty one, but I'm going to hit you with a bottle.
Nonetheless.
But so I discovered this a week or two ago when I had another bout of insomnia. And just out of curiosity, I was like, okay, where can I stream this? Because I've meant to buy it on DVD forever, and I've never found it in an affordable format. I was like, I'm not spending like $400 for the box set. I'm just not. I don't have that sort of money. The man they call Tim does, because he's got 2 fake championship belts behind him. I don't have MASH money. So I was just searching for it, and I saw it pop up on Disney Plus, and I was like, okay, let's roll here. Episode 1, season 1. And I've been watching, I think I'm on I might be on season 3 at this point. And it just makes you realize like the difference between what, streaming seasons are now, and even seasons like a couple of years ago to then, like way back in like the 70s and 80s, when it was like 25, 30 episodes per season, where you're like, oh god, this is forever. But oh my gosh, so good. Just great characters, and interweaving of drama and comedy, which of course as the seasons go on, it definitely becomes much more drama than comedy. But it's like going back and revisiting an old friend, because I would hit different episodes. I'm like, oh, I remember this one. Like I remember 5 O'Clock Charlie, which is an episode where, there's this demented North Korean bomber who's flying like this little, propeller biplane, and he's going to bomb the ammo depot. And he's so bad that they're out every night, every day at 5 o'clock, and they're taking bets on how far away from the ammo dump. So it's like an office pool. And all that. Like I was like, oh, I remember the first time I saw this, and just going through and catching all the episodes, as they're going, I'm like, oh wow, this is like, so it's like catching up with an old friend from like 30 years ago now, and I'm kind of appreciating it. So if you've never watched all of the entirety of MASH, hey, this is your chance to do it. If you've got a Disney Plus subscription, dive in. I recommend it. You can knock off 2 or 3 episodes of this without the commercial breaks, and it's quality. It's just quality acting, quality television. So you will not regret it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for Week of Geek Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in, for being here with us as we chop up the various news items and serve them back to you. Sort of like a less tasty sushi, really. If you'd like to find our episodes, you can find them all at freerangeidiocy.com, and you can subscribe through any of the fine podcast purveyors out there. We are on Apple Podcasts, for example, Spotify, Pandora, Podbean, Amazon. You can find all, and many more. Just search for Free Range Idiocy. You can find full video episodes on our YouTube channel and also on Spotify. You can find us in the social medias. We are on the aforementioned YouTube. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. All of those are at Free Range Idiocy. If you have any thoughts and suggestions, things you'd like us to talk about, send those to Tim at freerangeidiocy.com. And okay, that about covers it. And now it's time to get the hell on out of here, because we've got other stuff to do. But Tim, you want to take us out here, because this is your show.
Thank you. Before I wrap things up, I just want to give a quick update. The projections for my matchup, I'm going to lose 168 to 138, but I have faith that Derrick Henry will take me to the promised land. However, for Uncle Todd, fortune favors the bold, and apparently the bold is our friend Matt, because Peyton's Lazy Boys are going to take it 188 to 182. The doom is doomed.
Jalen Hurts balled out 57 points.
Oh, yeah.
Dang, is this going to be another start of the season where basically I'm getting everybody's best game? Calvin Ridley just stunk me up. 6 points, you bum. Yeah. All right, you're sitting next week.
And on that note, and I think Uncle Todd would agree, we'll close this out with, you suspect. We don't know what your reputation is in this town, but after what you tried to pull today, Jalen Hurts, no, not Jalen Hurts, who was it? Calvin Ridley? Calvin Ridley.
Yes.
You can bet we'll be looking into you. Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and until that day comes, keep your ear to the grindstone.
You are worse than Hulk Hogan. Now get the hell out of here!